everyone, and welcome to my channel and another live stream. I am very, very sorry that we have been delayed, and technically we're still delayed, but I did not want to keep pushing this back. Kaitlyn is hopefully going to join us when she can, but otherwise I still wanted to keep going through because we have a limited time window and I wanted to at least get an hour in for the stream. But welcome anyway. Hello, Barb. Yes, thank you. My wonderful countdown. I eventually would like to make a custom one, but we have the given one right now, and I feel like it's working very well. But yeah, so obviously today is mostly going to be about co-writing. As I said, Kaitlyn is fine. There's nothing wrong with Kaitlyn. She just had a couple things that came up that has been pushing her schedule back, which we didn't plan for initially, and that's why she's just not currently here. But we will prevail until the meantime. And I did just want to kind of say a couple things. One second. Okay. Kaitlyn is home, so she should be jumping on. I'm going to message her back and tell her we started. Okay. Shelby, hi. Thank you for joining. Yep. So anyway, while I'm waiting for Kaitlyn to jump on too, I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for coming to my channel and supporting me. I just hit 400 subscribers as of this morning. Yesterday, well, technically last night, I think. So yay, I'm so excited. It's kind of weird. 400 might not be a lot to some people, but when I started this last year, I really did not think that, at first I was well, maybe I'll get 500 really easy. And then it didn't happen. And I was like, oh yeah, we're just never going to get there. And then we did. We got to 400. So thank you guys so much, because it's because of you that I reached 400 subscribers. Ashley, hello. And Yaza, hi. All my wonderful people are here. So, obviously, we are just going to be talking about co-writing. It's not going to be sprinting today, which is one of the. I don't think I've done any other live streams. Maybe I had one live stream. I don't know if I've done just a talking live stream yet. So this will be kind of just my first one, which is super exciting. I don't know. Yeah. So anyway, as far as some initial questions, I mean, you guys can feel free to start asking things or, chatting. I'll just kind of give a background maybe that'll be where we start. And then that way it's not getting too deep or answering questions that, maybe Kaitlyn would also want to chime in on. Thank you so much, Yaza. And hello, Jackie. Oh, speak of the devil. It's like we summoned her. Hello.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
So
I'm good. I shoveled Wendy's in my mouth.
That's okay. You're welcome to eat. This is a very relaxed live stream today.
I'm good. I inhaled it on the way home, so
I'm proud of you.
Yep.
So basically, obviously I've only been on for 4 minutes. And I was just saying a thank you for 400 subscribers because I hit that yesterday. So it's excited for that. And I was going to start with just kind of introducing how we started writing together. And then letting whoever wants to ask questions, and we can go on from there. But I literally was just about to dive into it when you joined. So we can start together. But yeah, so basically, Kaitlyn, you can jump in when in there. But essentially, the long story short-ish, because I'm never short, I'm always long-winded. But basically, so let's see, me and Kaitlyn met a very long time ago in a galaxy far, far away at 8 Church, where we actually lived really close together, but our two families ended up going to the same church and we met. And we kind of hung out a little bit during those events, and then we kind of went our separate ways. And then lo and behold, because we lived in the same community but didn't know it, we ended up meeting again at work, and we both were snack bar girls, and we cooked everyone's food at a bowling alley, and it was a grand old time. And
Yep.
hello, doggo. And basically, after that point, as we started getting to know each other and we actually became friends more, we found out that we both really liked writing. And we embarked on an adventure. We were like talking one day and we're like, how cool would it be if like this character wanted to do something? And if we had, you know, like this power. And then that is how our book journey started together, was we just both found we had an interesting writing ideas, and we both like to write, and we were like, okay. And I think I might have wrote the first chapter where it was like the most jankiest thing we've ever heard.
Yeah, it was in like a notebook in like study hall where it definitely did. It just to start with characters, where we had these characters that were talking in our head, and we were just like, what if they did this? But there was no story. It was just characters in the beginning.
This is the notebook.
That's the infamous notebook. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's exactly what it was, though. You just like came in the one night and you were like, oh, I wrote at study hall yesterday. And
yeah.
Was it? I'm trying to think of what character it even would have been.
It was, I'm pretty sure it was Artemis, because I'm pretty sure, I can read you guys the first line of the very first thing we ever wrote. I'm pretty sure I have it in here. Yep. Okay, so chapter 1 was called Evil Has a New Name.
We were so dramatic.
And the first sentence was, the name is Artemis. An exotic girl with long unruly hair yelled, I demand to see Colin Price.
Yep. None of that is in there anymore.
Nope. It is
all gone.
Completely different book. I mean, I really hope it has been after 10 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's how it started. And then from there, I mean, so it's kind of interesting because I think, like, especially in the authorverse, I mean, I feel like most authors have to be friends first in some capacity before they write.
Yeah.
Because even like the people who you see like co-writing a lot, especially in young adult fiction, I think they're all friends. Like,
I would agree, because I think it takes so much like communication, where you can't be offended if the other person doesn't agree with something, or you can't be offended if like they just, I mean, like, how many times do we get stuck on one sentence where like one of us is like, oh no, I don't think that's that bad, and the other one's like, no, that's awful.
Yeah.
Like, you don't get offended by it because it's, I don't know, you just know how to communicate because you're friends. I agree. I think you have to be friends in some capacity at least.
Yeah. So that's obviously like our friendship very much started as just friends with a common interest. I think we'll start to like they have that common interest where they meet as writers and then become friends and then expand and all that kind of stuff. So I don't really think that's like a definite route that you have to go, but personally I do feel like you have to have a friendship if you're co-writing at some point, just because it's going to be easier. Not to say that it wouldn't be a challenge that you can try writing with someone you don't know.
Oh my god, can we write a book about people like lovers, like hate, like enemies to lovers, like where they hate each other and they're trying to write a book together?
Oh my god,
let's write that.
How meta. I mean, I'm not opposed. It could be like a rom-com, because it'll be so much easier than trying to make a whole magic and world system.
Oh yeah, no, just a rom-com.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Charlotte popped in. Hello. And Kelly said that she is coming. Say hello. So I understand the hectic day. I will definitely appreciate any replays. So yeah. So then, other than our start, though, I mean, again, anyone can chime in at any given time to ask specific questions, because otherwise we will just go off into tangents, I'm sure.
We will.
But I'm trying to think. I'm thinking, is this an answer to being friends? That's what I'm wondering. Oh, the rom-com. Okay. Yes. Maybe that'll be, honestly, that I will be so mad, like, if we wrote that and that was our publishable book, because I'd be like,
yeah, because it'd be like the easy one.
Yeah, we spent so much time. I would have to do a pseudonym, though,
No, but can you just imagine like one of them getting like really, really mad, just like tossing all the papers up in the air, and then the other one slips on the papers and they fall together like the proposal style, like, you know,
yeah,
Ryan Reynolds. And
this live stream is just writing this book.
Yep. Yep. Someone has to be naked just for no reason.
I'm just take all of the like classic.
Mm-hmm.
I
mean, honestly, it could be like a satire. It could even be like all the.
You know, I love my satire.
I know you do.
I'm fine with this.
I could talk you into this. I know I could.
You were already talking me into it. Right, so we do have a question. So we are from small town Pennsylvania. I don't know. I mean, for the most part, I'm pretty open with where I'm from, but we live in like the Northeast Pennsylvania region, so it's pretty small. Like we have enough people, but at the same time, not enough. And
we're near like Scranton, like The Office.
Yeah. Wilkes-Barre, yeah, that like kind of up in the north area. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of our inspiration for our co-written book has come from our area because we live in a gorgeous, absolutely stunningly beautiful, woodsy area.
Mm-hmm.
So that comes up a lot in writing, I think, especially like mountains and things. We like waterfalls, we like mountains, we like forests.
I don't think I'd ever be able to live in a place where there wasn't like woods and a lot of like mountains and like trails, and we are really lucky that way. We have a lot of like trails near our house, you know, that are well maintained, so you can enjoy nature.
Yeah, and we are both from this area. Like I said, when we were growing up, which Renee, you might have. I should probably leave the question up here. That might be smarter. But if you missed the beginning of the stream, I was saying that when we were growing up, we kind of met each other because we lived in the same area, and then had kind of parted ways, and then met again because we ended up having the same job. So we were born and raised from the same area, and that kind of worked together. So. My dog is like I don't know if she's dreaming over here, but
mine must know that she's close because she's sitting at my feet just staring at me. Like I can hear Aunt Bree. Why is she not visiting me? So
soon, Daisy. But yeah, so Renee, I hope that answered your question. I mean, again, long-winded, but obviously if you have any follow-ups, feel free to ask.
Yep.
Barb says, I know everyone has different editing styles. How do you work through each other's style of editing?
We have a similar style of editing, I would say.
We do.
We are definitely rereaders.
Yeah.
And I think that's another like really good point is that we complement each other's style, I would say. When it comes to that, we're both I think the only thing that we feed off each other that would be bad is that we start line editing when we shouldn't.
I am like I realized through our co-editing that I'm a really good line editor.
You are, and I think
I wanted to do a job as that, I think I could.
Yes, exactly. No, I agree, and I think that like what I've gotten better as I've gotten older is trying to just get things written and not edit as I'm going, because then I will get stuck on it for 3 weeks, and they'll be traveling from school to the store for 3 weeks. So I think I'm personally. I've gotten better at like getting everything down and then going through, rereading, checking like pacing, timing, overall arc. And then it's hard to say with co-writing because we've edited our book so many times now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and we've definitely grown too, because our editing back in the day was like not, or it was like over. It was like there was no happy medium. But I would probably say the people that we are today and how we're writing. Our editing process together is very much like we will like take a chapter and like write it and then pass it to the other. And then that person will read through it, make notes, make changes. And it's a lot of passing back and forth, no matter what chapter it is. Like that's the one thing I think is different. I
think it's just how we grew together as writers, why we do that. I don't think I'd be able to do that with anyone else personally. No. Like, because there's not one chapter in our book that one person wrote.
Yeah. We passed it back more times, and like we don't pick like necessarily. Like we started off having like characters that were ours, and at this point, like we could probably pick up any character and each write from
Yeah.
But definitely for editing though, we do pass it back and forth, make notes, and then a lot of times, especially as it started getting towards the end of our manuscript, when like we were finishing it and it was written, we would both like print it out, read it separately, make notes on the paper, actually like jotting them down, and then we would come together and spend like an entire Saturday going over all of the notes together and like then putting it in a master doc. Like that's been our most successful way in the last like 2 years of editing.
Yeah. I will definitely say I'm much better at like marathon editing than bits and pieces, because I like knock myself out of it if I just do like one chapter at a time. I'm better like focusing a chunk of time and saying, hey, like this Saturday I'm not leaving the house. Like Brie and I are in her basement and we're editing. Yeah. And that just seems, also we're just really we're adults and we're busy and this is not our full-time job. So maybe that's also why it works better. But
yeah, definitely. No, marathoning has been really good, especially too because like it is so different. Like we said, adults having like family and having other obligations and having jobs. It's hard to like be like, okay, every day for an hour we're gonna edit, but it's unrealistic to do it together. So we are better off blocking time. That includes like sometimes we did a whole weekend once when we were like ripping through beta reader feedback. We spent the entire 2 days, Saturday and Sunday, just ripping through it. But we got the most work done. So But yeah. And then as far as like just off this is a little bit, but the strengths and like weaknesses, I think we again have kind of worked together that we are playing off our strengths and needs, because I think for me, minute details I catch really easy, and grammar and stuff like that. Like I pick up on that so much more, where I think Kaitlyn does a really good job at picking bigger picture of like, okay, this is inconsistent here and there. And it might be like, you know, and then like, or the whole thing, which I feel like that kind of works because our editing ends up being a little bit tighter than it would be on our own.
I would totally agree. I definitely do think that we have complementary styles with a lot of the things we do. Like where, I mean, and I think we've fed off of each other for so long that like the differences between our styles are not as intense as they used to be. Where like when we first started writing, I feel like you were really good at getting them from point A to point B, like, and actually getting the pacing moving. Where I would Tolkien it and talk about the door. So like a lot of like our chapters, Brie would kind of do like the bones of it, and then I would go back in and fill it in. Where now we're both good at both things because we've kind of learned from each other how to do those things.
Absolutely. No, and I will credit some of my college courses. I had a couple of really great writing professors that helped me on like be a shower and not a teller, and make my description. And I do credit them a lot, because I don't think I would have been nearly as good at that without their wisdom to impart on me. So, okay. Renee also asked, what outline methods do y'all use, or do y'all discovery write? Both?
Well, both. Yeah, I would say both. The beginning manuscript of our book was definitely discovery. It wasn't even discovery.
We had call it a manuscript.
Yeah, we had characters. We were like, what if we had an assassin that could shapeshift? And then no, she's not an assassin. She's a bank robber. I don't even know if she robbed a bank in the beginning. Honestly, I don't remember. But she was a thief, and she could shapeshift. And then we had,
I think the thief was the important one. No, because she definitely did. Because at one point, she like we had her bombing, like a legit like bomb, like she blew up a building in our original.
But yeah, essentially we had characters that were really talking in our heads. This is gonna make us sound really crazy, but we had these really cool characters talking in our heads, and we wanted a story for them, and we didn't know how to get them all together, so we just smushed them.
Basically, to flesh that out a little bit more, basically what we did is we literally just like took these characters, and then like the characters were essentially a prompt. We were like given the character, and it was like put them in a situation, and that's what we did. We were writing like all the characters.
And then I think we got done with like the first. I don't even think it was a complete book. I don't think we had even gotten to the end of where we wanted it to be, and we realized that there were no reason for any of these people to be interacting. Like we had just kind of forced them together. And that's, I think, when we started kind of outlining a little bit more. I wouldn't say we had a very formal outline, but we definitely had more of a, okay, this is our starting point. This is, where it's going to come together. And we worked off of that a little bit. I know, like personally for me, when I'm writing alone, I like to have an idea of what I'm doing, but I'm not a very strict outliner, in the sense of if I end up like developing something, that I won't deter from that. Because I know, especially for me, I don't know if this I might just be crazy. Maybe like I just have too many voices in my head. But once I start developing a character, I could assume they're going to react in a certain way. But once that character starts growing in my head, I get to that point and I'm like, oh no, I'm sorry. I thought that you would react that way because you're not going to. So I'm not a really strict outliner when I'm writing by myself. And I think that we kind of do the same thing.
Yeah, I'm
as
also
co-authors.
Yeah, I'm not a strict, if you've been watching any of my Preptober videos, you know, plug to go watch some of those. I am a plantser on a pantser side because I will kind of formulate a lot of ideas in my head and then eventually write them down. So I marinate things and I marinate even scenes. So a lot of my writing with co-writing was like, I'll be driving and I'll just be thinking about the scene, and I'll be like, okay, now it's time to write it because I was thinking about it for a long time. I do think the longer that we worked through this project together, the more that we did outline like scenes and outline like chapters. And we would sit together and be like, okay, this is like everything that has to kind of get done because like we had a better idea of where the story was at that
once we had a skeleton of the story, I think we were much better at outlining, which makes sense. We were definitely very much mood discovery writers in the beginning.
Yeah. We really, and that, like, granted, like this was literally 10 years ago. Like we were 17 and 19. So we were pretty young and we didn't really have any idea of how to actually write a book at that time. So it was a lot of growth personally and like professionally, if you will. But yeah, I do think the plotting, it definitely, on another note, the plotting helped us later in our book writing when we were doing specific chapters. So like we would sit together and plot a couple chapters at a time and then be like, okay, Kaitlyn's going to go write these 2 chapters for this character and I'm going to write the other 2. And then we would write them all out and then we would swap with our edits.
Yes. I would definitely say too, where outlining helped us the most too is when we had high action like parts of the book. So we had like one part where it's not even in our book now, but it'll be in book 2 maybe, where we had to like kind of conceivably get them out of a situation without it seeming impossible, because that is something that I hate in books when like they overpower the protagonist and you're just like, why? How could anybody beat them? So we wanted to have like a really realistic way of them getting out of the situation. And I want to say that chapter took us forever just to kind of like actually plan out like, okay, we need to get from here to here, and what are the things that are going to stop them from getting there, but they're not such big obstacles that they can't get around.
If it's a scene I'm thinking of, then we were really channeling Leigh Bardugo vibes in Six of Crows.
Oh, we were totally Six of Crowing that. There was like a canal and sleight of hand.
Yes, and it's in like in hindsight too, like while I love working on that scene and it was such a challenge, like I'm still proud of that scene, even if it doesn't end up in like whatever the final product ends up.
Exactly. I think we learned a lot about doing action sequences kind of out of that scene and doing them with 2 people, you know, and planning them out. So
yeah. But yeah, so I think that answers that question. We're caught up on questions. So we'll just sit here and wait. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I do think too, like just kind of going off that in general, a lot of, I think it's just different. I think if you had like a writing group that you've had for years and years and years, and like you get feedback on and you get like experience through, I think like our process of writing together kind of gave us that in a way, because like but it was a little bit even more personal because we just wrote so long together and so many different things and so many different scenes and so many different characters. And we literally build like, I think we had 4 fleshed out worlds. So like we built so much. And on the long scale, even if like this book isn't our first one that either of us publish, I still think eventually it will. And like, we put so much dedication into it that like that, I honestly, like the thought of me world building on my own terrifies me now.
No, I feel that because it's really nice having somebody to bounce ideas off of, because sometimes in the shower you have this brilliant idea where you're like, oh, what if the whole world was underwater? And then you like bounce it off your co-author and they're like, no, what if it's underwater? But like, they would need domes. And then it just flows from there because you're having a conversation. And honestly, like to kind of piggyback off of, you know, if this isn't our first book published, I don't regret anything with this book, because honestly, I don't think we would be as good of friends without this book. No. Because this is how we bonded. Like at work, we would just talk about a book for hours and like not even notice that a 6-hour shift went by.
Yeah, no, it really did solidify our friendship. And obviously, like, without it,
we'd still be friends.
We're friends now, but like that really catapulted us into like such a good friendship. So
definitely.
Okay. Did you guys ever view a character as more one? Oh, okay, as more of one person's, or do you feel like they're well blended of both of you and them?
I would say in the beginning, we definitely had characters. I know, like, Demetria was very much your character, our shape-shifting thief. And I think,
obviously, I want to be a shape-shifting thief.
Yeah. And in the beginning, we did. I definitely think we had more, you know, that's your character, this is mine. Now I feel like they talk to both of us, so we're both crazy.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, and I will definitely say, too, we've literally had moments where we'd be sitting in one of our kitchens talking as the characters and acting out scenes. Like, literally that happens.
Yeah, like all the time. Yeah, and it would be full out fleshed conversations, and like, write that down or record that, because that was really good.
Yeah. I think, like, if I'm going to break down, like, I will just say the first 4 characters actually the first 6 characters, I'm just going to say names. So we had, like, I would say Kai, Colin, and Todd were your original 3 characters, and Artemis, Demetria, and Toby were mine. So, like, we did split them. And now some of those characters aren't even in book 1 anymore. So, no surprise. But, I would definitely just say, like, we definitely had that split. And I think it was just needed just to get us started, because I feel like if we would never have gotten this book started if we were like, well, who do we want to do? Or
exactly. And I think as for like personality trait wise, like if we're basing any of them off of each other, I think they're a very well blend of both of us.
Yeah.
Like there's times when like one of our characters will say something and I'm just, oh, that was Brie. That was her coming out in that character. And then the same thing will happen where like, there's definitely traits that we've given all of them that are either traits we want or traits that we have or traits that we should probably work on.
Yeah. Yeah. I do think like, I feel like for any writer, like there's always something either of yourself or someone that you know that you end up putting in your characters, because that's like where your base is off of. But like, I definitely know like.
Exactly.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, Demetria.
I think that's how you make 3-dimensional characters.
Yeah, yeah. Like, Demetria is definitely, like, so much, like, a stronger, like, knows, confident who they are, like, she is, than I am.
Yeah. But Demetria is my ideal.
Yes.
If I'm honest. That's my ideal. It's that self-assured, you know, I really don't care what other people think. I know where my compass is pointing, and that's where I'm walking.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I would like to be that person.
Yeah.
And also tall, blonde, and a shapeshifter, but
absolutely. Nana joined us. Hello. Yeah. Now I definitely think like we also try to have like well-rounded characters too, and like diverse, because I mean that's something that
the world is diverse.
Yeah, the world is diverse, and that's something that we wanted to, and trying to balance that without demonizing certain groups as well. Which is hard. Not hard to demonize, but just hard to be like, you know, making sure that you're doing everything right. Even if like we're in those groups.
Yeah.
We're not in all of them, but in some of the ones that we are, it's still hard to be like, well, just because we see it this way doesn't mean that someone else will.
Yeah.
And
you just want
a risk. Yeah.
Yeah. Fair representation of everything.
Yeah. And it's a risk that you're never going to please everyone. And someone's story you might not resonate with someone else's.
Yep, exactly.
But it was still nice. And I am glad that because I know like the inclusion has been such a big push, and I'm absolutely thrilled that people are trying to have more like authors and characters of color and of different sexual orientations. But I am like proud of us that we like, I don't know, I think like Kai was pretty quickly biracial, I believe. Like and that was I don't, maybe not initially, but like pretty much into it. But
I don't know if it was like an out loud said thing, but I think in both of our heads she was fairly quickly. And then I know Demetria, you know, her sexual like orientation fairly quickly was part of the LGBT community.
Yeah.
And then, as the other characters kind of molded themselves, we, found other ways of inclusion.
Again, with our characters talking to us, and we were like, "Oh, you are this or that or whatever."
Literally, and that's where sometimes I think we're crazy because we won't talk to each other, and like both of us at the same time. Like I don't want to give too much away because I mean, not that it's a big plot point, but like one of our characters being bisexual, we were just I've just been thinking of him that way the whole time.
Yeah, it was very much like, I think we were sitting at your house and you were just like, so question.
I think you would take a boy home, right?
Duh.
Duh.
So yeah. I like, this isn't quite a question, but
yeah, I'm in the worst lighting ever because I'm in my kitchen because I came flying in from my tattoo appointment. So this is my window. It's a blind, Greg. Actually, I'm coding in space. I am a code. This is a green screen.
Oh my god, that would be fun. Well, are you on your laptop or are you on your
No, I'm on my laptop.
Yeah.
Which great either, but
no, it's fine. I was just curious because I think your tablet also has a camera, doesn't
it? It does. It's in my office somewhere.
No, you're fine. I'm nosy, so
yeah, it does. So
yeah. So okay. So again, we're kind of like, we don't have that any initial questions, but what else? What do you think is important about co-writing?
I mean, honestly, just kind of coming back to like the communication point of it. I think that's the biggest thing is just, communicating every step of the way, but also finding the balance of not like over communicating either, where I don't think we ever really fell into it, but I have, other authors when I've read interviews and stuff like that of like being afraid to make any decisions on your own. Nothing's ever permanent. I mean, so if you decide in one chapter that somebody's going to go to the diner instead of going to the movie theater, and then you talk to your co-author and they're like, no, they need to go to the movie theater. That's what edits are for. I mean, so I think it's like finding the good balance of, making sure you're making the big decisions together and both authors feel heard, but, also finding the rhythm between each other that
yeah, no, I definitely agree with that as well. I think, I mean, with anything, communication is always.
It's just communication. Yeah, it's any think of it as a relationship. It's like any relationship. You just need to communicate.
Yeah, well, and piggybacking off that, which is a little bit of a side tangent, but for anyone like watching, we are trying to pursue traditional publishing with this book. Obviously, it is a bit of a genre bender, and I think that kind of is our disadvantage, trying to market it to the masses. But we would like to get it traditionally published. So I also think that there's a difference between traditionally publishing and self-publishing when it comes to co-writing. And that's, I think, a big part of communication also being key in different ways, because I think if you're self-publishing, you definitely have to communicate because you guys are you're the whole team. Like you're the whole package on everything. Your final product is what you're putting out in the world. So you get every say. With traditional publishing, you won't always have, even though like you guys are the main voices, you're still probably going to have like 3-4 other people also giving feedback and telling you how to do things. So it's a little bit more involved, and like your communication is going to be a bit broader, but with self-publishing, it all comes down to you guys.
Yep.
So Sarah, hello. Thanks for joining. Okay, Barb with the good questions. Like, I just feel like we're getting interviewed right now, and I love this.
I do. I like this.
So Barb says, your current project together is a big fantasy with its own magic system, but for future projects, do you think you would stay with the same genre, or would you branch out into others? And I really love this question.
That's a good question.
Yeah. So I guess no, and I guess too, are you specifically just asking like what we would do together if we're going to write again, or would it be separately? Because separately, I already branch out into other genres. I wrote a contemporary for NANO and Camp NANO. I write horror, I write poetry. So I do a lot, and I'm pretty sure, Kaitlyn, you also write pretty much everything as well.
Yeah, I would say as an individual author, fantasy is my favorite genre. I really like world building specifically, and I like magic systems and everything like that. But yeah, no, I've written contemporary poetry. I haven't finished many of them. But no, I'm completely okay with branching out. And I know, I mean, we're writing a rom-com, so we're branching out as co-authors.
Yeah, we actually we did talk about this before, and this kind of came up with discussion before like I created my YouTube channel, even on whether or not we wanted to have both of our names on the book or if we wanted to have a combined pen name.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, we want both of our names because we would also like to gather an audience for our own separate books. And to be able to kind of market them the same, again, because we both like fantasy, and that's both where we want to publish in, is the fantasy genre first and foremost. But in the talking about having a pen name, we did kind of talk about, it would, like, where we could pull a Cassandra Clare and just keep writing in all of these worlds we created and just go on and on and on and on and just have like an entire universe full of these characters, which is super tempting. Because, like, again, we have a genre bending, so we do have a couple different like worlds that we've created, so like it would be easy to write so many different stories.
And I think that it's so easy to do that when you're world creating, because in order to make like something that's not just a 2D world, you need to have rules and you need to have structure and you need to have a society. So like in order to flesh that out, you're having, and especially if you have a co-author, you're having full discussions about this world, which in turn means that you are branching out to all these other possible stories. So like that's what ends up happening all the time, is we have these side characters that are not super important, but they were important for us to flesh the world out.
Yeah.
And then you're like, but if they had their own story,
yes, yeah,
wouldn't that be amazing?
And there's definitely like times where we've like had just scenes in general, and some scenes that are like we wanted to keep and others that we like scrapped, but like talked about like how cool would it be if we were able to like incorporate like a side story about like this aspect of the world, or like prequels or sequels, or like, so there's just a ton. When you world build, you have so much. And I understand why like someone like Cassandra Clare or Sarah J. Maas, who have these massive worlds, like can just keep writing in them.
No, really, it's honestly, once you get going, it's once you pop the fun, don't stop, because it like really it is so easy to continue to write in that world. But
yeah. But also I will say then, because I didn't quite answer the question, I don't think, but I am not opposed to writing in other genres. And honestly, since this rom-com idea sounds extremely
I'm like kind of pumped about this rom-com, and also we did start a short story project, which technically is fantasy, but we do have a short story project that we started technically, which is kind of a different
contemporary fantasy.
It's contemporary fantasy, yeah. So it is a different genre that we did start, and we have a couple chapters written. So.
I mean, I guess though, technically ours is also contemporary portal high fantasy.
Yeah, this is more of a witch short stories. So.
Yes, yes, we did start, and we have to, nudge someone to keep writing with us.
That person, we have to nudge. The person that is saying that I have a door behind me. No, it's a window. It's a window.
At least, you and Greg are on the same page.
Of course they are. And literally, when I sat here, I'm like, somebody's going to make a comment about the damn window behind me. And I still sat here because I was rushing. And also, like, I don't have things hanging from my wall. This is my dog's leash.
We just got some torture devices.
This is my torture chamber.
Welcome. Oh my gosh. But yeah. So if you have any other questions regarding this particular question, feel free anyone to chime in and ask more. Just because I know, again, yes, we would like to branch out more, but again, at the core, our hearts are on fantasy, so we probably would make a lot more projects in the fantasy.
I think I veer towards fantasy, if I'm honest with myself. So
yeah, me too. Yeah. Jen is the one who told me it's the kitchen. I just love
Jen's smart. Jen recognized my wall. I love her.
I mean, I recognized your wall, but maybe it's just because like I don't know. I'm just used to staring at it.
I don't know. I have a big bottle of wine sitting across from me, and I'm really tempted to just grab it.
I mean, you can. I almost poured a glass of wine for this stream, but then I got lazy. Mmm. Oh, that's the good stuff. It's like super sweet. I do like that's the blackberry one.
It's a blackberry Merlot, yeah.
It's good. It's a good one. If anyone is over 21 and wants to have wine, get around to something that isn't RP one day. We plotted this, Maggie. We did. So just if anyone's watching,
if we throw it in Discord, she'll write
it. Probably.
Yeah, no.
If anyone's wondering what this small tangent is, Magdalena, we've also, the three of us are all friends, and we've also talked about writing another project together. And I think I wrote my entire first chapter. Kaitlyn wrote most of hers, if not finished it by now. And Maggie is the one who needs.
Did you feel the bus tire just hit you, Maggie?
Yeah. But yeah, so okay, so not everyone.
See, Barb also recognized the keys hanging behind me.
Yeah. Hi, Hudson. Okay, so anyway, we have another question. So because you're able to talk to each other about your world, can build it together, do you find it easier to flesh it out and build it to a larger extent than building a world on your own? That is a good question. I mean, so the thing with co-writing is it can be like your greatest gift and your worst enemy.
I would agree with that.
Because in some ways, one of the downfalls about co-writing, especially when you are not a full-time writer and neither is your co-writer, sometimes you're waiting on people and i.e. each other. And I've been at fault many times and Kaitlyn's been at fault many times where it's like, I've just had a hell of a week and I didn't get to it. Or like I went to college for 4 years and just didn't do anything. So like there's definitely that downfall of, you know, we don't have time always to just like sit and give that feedback and write and whatever. But on the plus side of it, which is kind of where this question comes into play, is that sometimes it's just so great to be able to sit and motivate each other. And as you're talking and you're writing, like we've done a lot of world building by just like sitting and typing a chapter and then getting excited about something, sharing it, and from there creating like the larger world. And not that you can't necessarily do that with other people, but when they're not in your book and like they're just not going to have the same reaction or the same feedback as they would, because they're going to be looking at it in a different lens because it's not their project, it's
exactly
project. So in some ways I think I learned a lot about how to world build on my own by co-writing, but it is a beast. And I'm currently in edits for my one fantasy book that I wrote on my own, and I even getting through like some of these edits, and I am building up the world better, and I saw it pretty clearly in my head, but I'm still like dreading my act 2 because I know that's where a lot of my world building needs to like come together and make sense, and I'm like I don't wanna. And there is sometimes where I'll just be I wish I could just be like, hey Kaitlyn, you wanna like flesh this out? I could, but you know, it just wouldn't be the same.
What are you doing?
Oh my God. Hi, Daisy.
I wanted to be part of it.
She said, I'm not going to look at the camera.
But no, she's going to refuse to look at the camera. She just wanted to be on my lap.
Yes. But yeah, so basically I do think it is for us, it is a little bit easier to flesh it out with someone else. Again, we have 2 brains. So 2 brains with 2 different, like, you know, like we can be working on the same thing but different things, you know what I mean? And like, and having that brain power always working can make things go a little bit easier. So anything else you had to add?
No, I agree. I think like you said, it can be the best thing about co-authoring or the worst, because you know, it just depends on how it's working that week. Are we boring you?
Okay, so what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to like start our own Discord channel, prompt Maggie by getting her to write, and then we'll take it and throw it in a Word doc.
Yeah, that's all we got to do.
Perfect. Yes, Discord is great. I'm in way too many groups at this point in my life, but I love them all, but I can't keep track of them. Oh my God. I love that I just get bombed by him now. Like, is there like a live stream bomb? I know the Zoom bombing was a thing, but And Hudson just like it would be Greg's best friend, I think. They are very similar as people. But yeah. So let's see. I think I had an idea until I read Greg's comment.
Oh, blame Greg.
Yeah, distracting me. Barb is like, yes, I'll create the channel.
Yeah, get that Discord channel.
Yes. I can make my own channel, Barb, but if I do need any help, because I know you like to do all the doodads and gadgets and stuff, I will definitely let you know. Because for now, until we actually get the green light from someone else, and we actually write. I need it after Nano, though, because I'm doing too much. I just love
I'm putting this in my cup so I can sip it like an adult.
Yeah. Yeah, see, that's exactly like, that's how I feel, too. I have a lot of channels.
Oh, we have a lot of channels on Discord right now. It's a problem.
I love Maggie's just like, who is this? Is it Barb? But okay, so back to co-writing. So I'm trying to think. There was something that I wanted to touch upon, and now I can't remember. Oh, I did. So for people just that are curious, because we have queried and we are like wanting to query one more time before we shelve it for a little bit. But just kind of a tidbit, since no one's asked this, I just felt like offering it. Honestly, if you are about to query, I've seen a lot of questions on the internet of just like, well, how do you query with 2 people? And it's honestly extremely easy. One, you just include both of your names literally in your query letter. So if you're taking a query letter and you're looking at it, like if you got an example on the internet and it's like, okay, like here's your bio. So your bio now is 2 people. So you're including both of that. And we usually kept it pretty simple of like something fun that we like, we don't have any writing credits. So this is what we do in our spare time and we're best friends. And here you go. And then we kind of linked like, the sincerely part and put like all of our social media handles and stuff like that, like one after another, just so we had all of our contact information for both of us. And then the second part is we ended up creating an entire Gmail account just for us as co-writers.
Yep.
And that is we use that account literally strictly
exclusively
for just querying and any kind of content that we feel might be beneficial. Sometimes we will like email it to that account just to save it for later. But that is probably the simplest way to query with 2 people, is literally just to do the same thing but with 2 informations at the end of it.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. I had like 3 sips of wine and I'm like sleepy. An
adult drink from the bottle.
I was. Did you see how big this bottle is? It wasn't in the frame.
I am excited. My mom bought me like a Niagara wine it's in the fridge, so I wanted to try that.
Yeah, I have wine for Saturday so that we can have fun like adults.
Diane. Hi, Diane. I always love when you pop in and say hello. Diane is one of the sweetest people. So always just giving us some love. Okay, so we have about 12 more minutes. So if anyone else has any specific questions, we are probably going to end right around the hour mark. But feel free to ask them currently. In general, too, we'll do my little plug right here as we have a moment to like and subscribe. So currently, I only have a YouTube channel, but Kaitlyn can be found over on Twitter and Instagram. Her information is linked already down below for you guys. Sometimes she goes on hiatuses for very long periods of time. As such, I think you are currently on a hiatus.
I am kind of. I would like to start using it again. I'm bad at consistency.
Yeah. You are fine. But
very active on Discord.
Yeah. Even though it's a private Discord channel, so that doesn't count. I just like want you to like one day make like a Discord channel and just like drop random things.
It needs to be private. Trust me.
I know. But yeah, so if you guys do want to follow Kaitlyn on anything, as I said, I linked her stuff down below. You guys are always welcome to hang out with me. With NaNoWriMo coming up, I do have an announcement video on Friday coming up on my channel, so you guys can look out for that. But I have a lot of exciting live streams planned for the month for NaNoWriMo, and I'm really excited to tackle 50,000 words in a new project because we can't stick to just one ever, and we can't finish one without starting something new. So that's always very exciting. And I love Maggie just be like, it's bad.
No, it's really bad.
I had another note, and what are we doing? Oh, I didn't link this, but if there's a little bit more specific, if there's any questions that you guys feel like either we like beat around the bush, we didn't answer, or whatever, back I think last October, I created a co-writing tag called the Co-Writing Experience. It was the first tag that I created on my channel with Kaitlyn's help. And so either if you are a co-writer or you have a co-writer, you guys feel free to tag yourself and go do that tag. But if you want just more in like a look at our process and our like writing style, that also explains quite a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, Anna. Oh my gosh, yes. Well, and unfortunately, this is only a chat live stream. So, but I will, well, unless you mean for all of the other live streams coming up, then yes, all of my November live streams will be sprints. Yeah, I think all of them are. So all of them are sprints. So we're going to get a lot of things done because that's also my downfall recently. See, without you, Kaitlyn, the only time that I get stuff done now is when I'm in a live stream. So
you could just call me and like put me on the phone and I'll just yell at you. We could do that.
Oh my gosh. Just come dressed up as Winifred.
I'll chain you to the wall.
That can go a lot of ways.
No, Maggie has to dress up as Winifred because she's terrifying. She chased me around my house.
I mean, that would definitely... I could imagine her. I've seen the snap.
Oh, it's terrifying. I'm married.
Yeah. Yes, and I'm sorry. It took my brain a quick second to realize that is what you meant. But yes, coming up, we have so many. But yeah. So as far as any other tidbits about co-writing, I'm trying to think like if there's anything like nuggets of wisdom that can help or we can impart. I'm trying to think. The one thing that we can't talk about yet is getting an agent, and I would love to one day. But I would be obviously like when we're querying an agent, we're obviously both seeking representation. So keep that in mind if you are querying a book, especially a first book for you as like a dual author, that you are going to be seeking dual representation, and you guys would be splitting profit as well if you're going traditional publishing. So, I mean, obviously you're splitting profit if you're also doing self-publishing, but like
one would hope.
Yeah. The only thing that I'm not sure of is what breakdowns would actually be, which that would be great if we would be able to actually make that video, because I know like money videos do really well just because people don't talk about it a lot. And I would love to be able to be like, this is what actually happens. Because that's one thing that we don't know is if like, okay, well, if an agent, like, would they take a bigger percentage because there's two people, or like, would we get like two separate technical like deals and like, then they take it down the breakdown that way. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's like, seriously, it's such a struggle. Like, I don't know why I just now need like structured people yelling at me to write something.
I'm telling you, just call me. I'll yell at you.
But then you need to time me, and then you gotta chastise me when I don't get anything done.
Okay. I have a timer on my phone. I can go around, clean my house, and then when it goes off, just yell at you.
Perfect. Okay, so are y'all ever going to consider self-publishing? Just curious if the agent doesn't work out. Good question. So we have obviously definitely talked about this a few times. I mean, our beta feedback was generally positive, like that they liked the story and they liked the concept. And obviously we would love to be traditionally published. A big part of this, and it's definitely for me, but I'm pretty sure I can speak for Kaitlyn and she can confirm, but that marketing the effort it's going to take to get like editors and designers and all of that stuff is just not my cup of tea. That's not what I want to do. So self-publishing isn't necessarily not ever an option, but I think we would, if anything, at the end of the day, we would probably trickle down. We maybe try some indie publishing first, and then maybe go self-publishing.
I would agree. I think it's just a very daunting task to get the books in people's hands on your own without any other assistance.
And trust me, I give everyone props because I know a couple people in the stream, I think, I could be wrong, but I think a couple people are like either self-publish or want to self-publish. And I give everyone those props because that's terrifying.
Definitely understand the appeal of literally you hold everything in your hands. It's in your control, and you're not worrying about pleasing kind of the big brother. But to me, it's the marketing part is really, really daunting. But I would never completely write it off either. Like Bree said, like if we, try the agent avenue and that doesn't work, I think we would definitely trickle down just to get it out there at this point. I wouldn't ever write that off.
Yeah. The other thing that I would notice too, or note, and this is kind of comes back to something I mentioned earlier, but our novel, like the one that we co-wrote, is just like, it's very niche, I guess, what I would say, because it's not like a straight up fantasy in any direction. We have like a contemporary fantasy because some of our characters are from our real world and they're in college. We have high fantasy elements because there are worlds that we've built up from the ground, have different names, have different like wording, and there's various, like we have like some that are a little bit more in the future. We have some that are a little bit more archaic and have like magic abound, and some like, so there's a lot of different societies and a lot of different areas.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think it's personally, it could be hard to sell as a first book at the end of the day. So not that there's anything wrong with it, I don't think. But I do think it might be hard for a first book to be published. So what I'd also, for me, and again, Kaitlyn can correct me, but I think it might be easier that if we don't get this one during our next round of querying, trying to get some of our other work out there and publishable, because I think that when you get other things published in traditional publishing, the bigger of a fan base you get and the more copies you sell and all that kind of stuff can open the doors for you to have these little bit weirder, nicher areas and books to come to light. So that might be honestly what I would rather do first, is try to get a different book published and then come back to it later.
Yeah, no, I would agree.
Consider self-publishing again.
I would agree. Our rom-com's going to just open the door for us.
Oh my god! And then we're gonna get stuck being like romance writers and be like,
but think about it. Those people, they like pump out books like crazy. They could be real successful and have to move to Texas because they all live in Texas.
Yeah, they might.
A lot of them do.
A lot of them do, I think.
Could be nice.
But, yeah, I don't know if I want to live in Texas, but I would go visit. But yeah, so yeah, I hope that answers your question. Again, long-winded. But I would definitely say, and I'm looking at like some of like more recent inspiration. V.E. Schwab just came out with a book, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and she actually said that it was a pretty niche book and like wouldn't have sold when she first got published.
Yeah.
But because she started getting a following, like that was something that she finally got to see like the light of day. I also think Leigh Bardugo with Ninth House, that was another book for her that she like had this idea years and years ago, but couldn't get it off the ground. And her other series came first.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a lot of authors. Also, Shannon McGuire is another really popular author that now she has such a good fan base that she just writes some weird shit. And
it's easier once you already have representation. It's like any other job. It's easier to find other things when you already have one. So it just
so it might be a case too where if we just build up a little bit more writing experience, then that's something that we can come back to. And again, we've already spent 10 years on this bad boy. If we were to get the deal, we can probably pump things out pretty quickly because we have the worlds super fleshed out by this point.
Honestly, we have 2 written.
We do. Probably almost 3 at this point because of all the extra stuff. That probably wouldn't stay all of it, but you know, that fact of we have so much written, and we actually did take the time to flesh out the whole series arc, which is something we did not do originally. So it might give us an edge.
Yeah.
So, and hello, Jen. I was gonna say person, but I'm like, I don't want to insult you. But hello. So, all right, but we are at our hour mark, everyone. So I do want to just take a quick moment to thank you all for coming again. You know, it's been really fun, and I'm sorry that we were a little bit delayed, but Kaitlyn, I'm so glad that you were able to jump on and we were able to have this because I enjoyed it. So
me too.
Yeah. As always, if you guys want to like and subscribe, that would be wonderful. And I'm pushing through to 500 by the end of the year. That is my new goal. But in all seriousness, if you guys have any other questions that, you know, because we're at the end and you didn't get to ask them, feel free to ask them down below in the comments. If you're watching this as a replay, same thing, you know, feel free to ask anything later on. And if there's a lot of questions, we can come back.
He just walked in and he's confused.
Oh. Does he want to be part of the show?
Apparently.
And now he's like in live for the entire audience.
Right? Live from New York.
Yeah. Greg just waved to me. He didn't actually come in. Oh my God.
What's wrong with you?
Does he know we're actually live?
Yeah, like we're actually yeah, no, he doesn't care. There's no
Oh, Dave. But yeah. So we can always, you know, maybe we'll even have another live stream or like another just video together next year, because again, we are wanting to query one more time after all this is said and done. And for the new year, if I am able to get 500 subscribers, I would love to just do another chatty video like this, like a Q&A, just a hangout session. And I've never done one of those. I mean, this is my first chatty video, but I would love to have one that's just kind of us hanging out and having a good time. So yeah. So that's it. That's the video. So thank you, Hudson. That was very sweet of you. And yes. And thank you, Barb. So, all right. Well, thank you guys so much. And